Hello, and welcome to today's episode. I'm going to be your host, The Irrelevant Nerd, and today we're going to be reviewing Season 2 of Arcane. I just finished it about 25-30 minutes ago, was just taking some minutes to gather my thoughts. I had just reviewed Season 1 earlier this week, jumped right into Season 2, and I'm very happy to say that this is a great season. I'm unhappy to say it's not as great as Season 1, and for me, Season 1's a 10 out of 10. Season 2 is disappointing because it's not a 10 out of 10, but for me, it's like a 9.5 out of 10, so it's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. There were just a few things that I felt let down by, but let's get started with the good. First off, the animation is even better than the first, just like I had hoped, just like I thought it was going to be. I really like the mix-up of like kind of some of the pastel paint looks and some of the like flashing neon vibrant scenes that they do, and it's a really good mix, and it's very interesting to watch. It never gets boring visually speaking, and the voice acting in this season just as strong as the first season. Think all the voice actors do a really good job getting the emotion across with just their voice, which I mean is obviously assisted by the animation, because this is easily the most I don't even know how to describe it, but this is like the most that animations have ever like seemed like they're actually acting to me. So it's obviously helped, but the voice work is fantastic, and I really do like a lot of the character progression with a lot of the main characters and the new characters that were mixed in. And I liked it a lot, and I thought that it kind of picked right up in pace and intensity, especially in the first, 3-episode act of Season 2 in particular. Act 2 definitely slowed down a bit, but there was still a lot to like. But, I don't know, beyond, that being kind of like the obvious good, for me, this is kind of where, the more mixed stuff or the cons kind of start to begin. I feel like this season was a little unfocused. There's a lot of montages in this season set to, really great songs, but I feel like they maybe overused the music a little bit to kind of compensate for lack of story here and there, because I really do I feel like they montage through so much. There was stuff that I felt kind of confused by, especially it doesn't help with the way that Season 2 is edited together. A lot of the episodes, are jumping from, story A to story B to story C, but the way that it's edited together is there are a lot of episodes where you have a really hard time kind of figuring out how much time has passed, and with the sequence of events playing out, sometimes it feels like you miss stuff. Like there were several times I found myself going back and rewinding 30-40 seconds because I was confused to how a certain scene had gotten somewhere, and there's just a lot done off screen, and I don't like that. I want to be shown a lot of stuff that apparently Caitlin does, after she's given Marshall authority over Piltover and, Zahn, are really just more said than shown. And I feel like that's not the best way to create impact or to make people care. And so for me, that was just really mixed, and I felt like this season for me had less emotional impact than the first season. Episode 3 was heartbreaking. The way that episode 9 ends, the very finale, is very emotional, and I feel like you really care a lot about what's happening with the characters, and you still do. It's just not hitting you quite as much, and I feel like a lot of that is because the story is unfocused and oddly paced and edited together in certain spots. And I had kind of said character progression is a positive, but there is also some for me that's a little bit of a negative because I think that some characters have, I don't know, frustrating backs and forth, up and down. Like Vi in particular, I don't know, a lot of the decisions she makes, I don't really get it. And it seems like her character actually really hasn't changed all that much. Like she's one of the least progressed characters in terms of how much she evaluates and changes herself with the way that everything is around her. Like, obviously she gets into a better spot with Jinx because the beginning of the season, she's very much like, that is not my sister. Powder is gone. Only Jinx is left, to where by the end, she's back to, well, I gotta save Powder and I gotta protect her. And she's still in there and she's changed. And she's very back and forth. So it seems like she's kind of moving forward, but then she goes back. And I also, again, much like I had kind of said, really my only nitpick with season 1 was I really just would have liked to have seen a little bit more Vi, and I feel the same about season 2. I kind of feel like of all the main characters, she gets sidelined a little bit, and I think that's because her arc and her progression didn't really go a whole bunch of anywhere. She was just kind of moving with the story, and so things like that were disappointing, but there's obviously still a lot to love about her character. Like, I actually really enjoyed her relationship with Caitlyn. It was frustrating at times because, again, it was a little bit back and forth, but I ultimately liked where they wound up, and I do think they're a good pairing. And again, voice acting top notch. Some of her fights are really epic and intense. But compared to like a character like Jinx, who has had tons of character progression throughout both seasons of the show. She went from the sweet, innocent little girl to progressively more psycho and crazy through the end of season 1 to where when she accidentally kills Silk, well, accidentally on purpose, kind of, kills Silco. And then in this season, it shows her kind of not caring, despondent, unsure of what she wants to do, and she is kind of trying to be compelled by these people around her to take more of a leadership role, and there just seems to be a lot more going on with her than with Vi, and there were some things I was disappointed with in Jinx for sure. Again, the character motivation seems to be very fluid with a lot of characters in season 2. Very kind of, I don't know, sometimes you're unsure why certain characters are doing what they're doing. I kind of thought the more interesting way to take her was how they were kind of taking it at the end of season 1, where she was just progressing to sort of, looks like she was going to be the ultimate bad guy of season 2, and it was going to be sister against sister. And I thought, they could have really pushed that to be in a very emotional way to kind of end the show, but they end up kind of, trying to bring her back a little bit, anti-hero, still, trying to be, on Vi's side after, at the beginning of the season, she tries to kill her. And so I didn't love it all, but I just, I think you see a lot more with her character than you do with Vi, unfortunately. And it's just a shame because I think that Vi is a great character and kind of wish she had gotten the same, just wish she had kind of gotten the same amount of screen time and progression as Jinx. Let's see, I'm trying to remember because Jinx also gets a new partner, like a little kid partner in crime in the show, a little girl whose name is escaping me, unfortunately, but I understood that they wanted to give her somebody to connect to, but I never really was that emotionally invested into that little girl. Never really saw it as, a relationship to be super invested into. And so there are some moments like that I'm like, this is kind of odd and not exactly how I thought, season 2 was going to go. And, or even like with Mel's character, I like the progression of her character a bit, but she's another one to where, I don't know, in the season one, sometimes it seems like her motivations might be sinister. Are they good? Are they pure? Are they for personal glory? Like, does she just want to attach to Jace to get to the top? And then this one's a little more clear. Like, she's, very clearly on the side of the, good guys, and she gets these magical abilities that develop very quickly, which I was fine with, just kind of based off the world building and magic just rapidly becoming more powerful, especially through Hex Tech. I bought it, and she didn't do anything too crazy to me that sort of took me out of the moment. Victor, maybe the most interesting character just for how much he ultimately impacts the story. Like, is he the ultimate good guy? Is the ultimate bad guy? And him turning out to be the mage and trying to give Jace these alternate stones every time he sees him to kind of see which stone ultimately gets the outcome where he is stopped. I thought that was pretty cool and a great twist. And the kind of cult leader aspect was, I thought, pretty interesting, even though, again, I didn't really think that this is where this season was going to go. And so there was some stuff that I'm like, man, this is a little bit, I don't know, more odd than I was expecting. But I think it plays out well enough, even though there is some cheesiness and he is kind of just, the big world-ending threat now, as opposed to the, philosophical danger. But with all that being said, I do think this season's very strong, like a 9.5 out of 10 on its worst day. I have seen some reviews online calling it total garbage, and I do get why it frustrates people. It's very clearly not as good as season one, and you don't even have to care about the story for that to be true. It's just very clearly not paced as well and not as gripping in a lot of ways as season one, but it has a lot to offer. And when you look at season 1 and 2 together and you kind of combine them, it's like a 9.8, 9.9 A plus type of show. It's a strong recommendation for anybody. And I don't understand why so many people are taking to dunking on it online. I don't get it. And but as always, like, am I missing something that a lot of these people that are saying it's trash? Like, what am I missing? Like, what makes it so terrible other than, like, these few things that come across a little awkward, or the slight gripes, the pacing, or some of the character decisions? I don't know, like, it's not that they're bad, they're just not what you expect, or not what you would have done, or whatever in that situation. But I strong recommend for the whole thing. I think Arcane League of Legends is a great video game based property, maybe the best that we've ever had. And if they make spin-offs or decide to come back later, a few years down the road with a third season, I am 100% here for it. And yeah, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.